Hello everyone. Today I wanted to show a little game that I found. Uh, it's a game that I really enjoyed watching. It's by Wang and Paul Ezra. They are they're playing in the Berkeley Summer International Master Norm tournament. These are tournaments organized mostly with the purpose of allowing players to pursue norms so they comply with all of the requirements for FIDE. And in this case, Annie Wang played an amazing game. I am really taken by her skill. She was a contender to the US national champion tournament. And she's still very young. I'm not sure how old she is, but I'm pretty sure we will be hearing a lot more about her in the future. So Annie starts with d4, d5, c3. Everything so far is normal. c3 is normal. e3, I'm personally not a fan of e3 because it sort of locks the c1 bishop, but there are usually ideas related to pawn b3 and bishop a3. There are ways of activating through another diagonal, or even bishop b2 is perfectly fine. The game continued like this, and now Paul played a move that I couldn't find in my database. He played knight h6. I'm not sure if he had something prepared and wanted to try it, or if it was just over the board inspiration. And he continues with normal development. And then Black goes for a sort of Dutch stonewall kind of setup. This seems a little strange. Black could have perfectly played f5 here and then develop the knight to f6 to the usual square and try to keep fighting for the center. The knight here doesn't seem to be doing much. The only reasonable square that I can see is maybe a 5, maybe an idea connected to knight d6 and some pressure here maybe, but I really don't see the point of knight h6. So play it continue like that. Knight g2, pretty normal setup. Annie hasn't committed to anything, hasn't done anything drastic, just developing the pieces. I think she might be intentionally taking a conservative approach, not even trying to open up the center. Bishop d2, a very innocent move, very just getting the pieces out. Nothing really special about it. Except now this castle long, I think Annie realized that there are some structural weaknesses around the king, namely the bishop is aiming to h7, the queen is aiming to h7, so we have a battery on this diagonal. Of course, there's this pawn in the way, but the theme remains. This knight, I'm still not sure what it's doing. If the knight were here on f6, then h7 would also be protected. There would also be more control over the center, so I'm not really sure. Not really sure how Black's setup relates to the position. That knight on h6 is screaming for some activity. But it's usually the case that castling on opposite sides of the board brings out a gruesome battle. Queen e7 and f3. So Annie is preparing to open up the king side. Of course, it makes complete sense since the bishops are aiming to that side and the rooks can get there rather quickly. A bit of a distraction. Now we also see that this point might be weak at some point. The queen is protecting it, of course, but there might be some ideas related to this. So b5, just go back. and a5. So it seems like black is pushing on the queen side. It seems like black has everything under control. But black has forgotten to fight for the center. And at the moment, the rooks are not connected. The bishop is behind its own pawns, so it's trapped by its own army. The light square bishop has little to no future in this pawn structure, so something should be done in regards to the pawn structure. Maybe black's idea is to push this pawn and then try to exchange that bishop, which would actually be really good for black. Get rid of these threats. But Annie very accurately, in my opinion, tries to open up the center. I was thinking at this moment, what would happen if black played b4 directly? The knight would be out of tempo. The knight would have to move. Knight b1 seems extremely passive. Knight a4 might have some future. But black played a4. I'm still not entirely sure. I think black forgot to count tempis or whatever. Because Annie just ignored it. And in this case, now black cannot play b4. The a4 pawn is hanging. And Annie is coming at the king like directly. So f takes. And now we can see the things start to open up. Things in the king side start to open up. Now that this pawn has moved, Annie again very accurately takes one tempo and locks the bishop out. So now these two bishops are just useless. They are not playing at all. This rook has nothing to do with the king side. So these are 3 pieces right out of the opening. This is move 15. 3 pieces that black has just sitting passively. And this knight, I'm still not sure what it's doing. So now we see the other point, the battery on h7. At this moment, I believe it's equal material, but the black king is much more exposed, and things start to crumble. Very powerful move by white, threatening a check on g6, which would fork the queen and the rook and the king. So maybe black can try to save the queen, but won't be able to save the rook. So black decides to give up material. So now it's not just that black had to give up the exchange, but also this was a piece that was on the king side defending, at least covering some squares. As it is right now, this one is doing nothing. The knight, not yet doing something, can maybe try to go to f8, but it's far from ideal. Black fell into an extremely passive position. There are even quick tactics like knight takes here and then picking up the bishop. So everything seems to be going wrong for black. g5, threatening to take on h7. Bishop goes back at the same time, threatening to take here. It's pretty clear that this bishop will hang, but it doesn't really matter. For that bishop, white got 2 pawns, and white was already up the exchange, so this is pretty good for white anyways. At this point, I would dare to say that it's a matter of technique. The knight, if you remember, hasn't moved since when was it? Move maybe 6? No, move 5. Since move 5, this knight hasn't moved, and this is move 21. What is this knight doing? Maybe now it can actually try to go here and then get kicked by the pawn, and then the pawns would roll. It's a terrible position for black. Queen g6. Knight hides to g8. What a horrible square. It's the original square where it came from. And now just 96, and black resigned in this position. It's a big massacre. It's pretty gruesome how it turned out. White is coming here with check, and not only check, but it would be checkmate. So the queen has to take, and that's just so much material. If the knight goes back, then white can take with check, and just it's an awful lot of material. So yeah, this was a game played just the 12th of this month of August. Congratulations, Annie! You played a beautiful game, and I hope to follow your career. Hope you enjoyed the analysis. If I missed something, please let me know in the comments. Have a good one. See you soon.